Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Superboy the Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Tom Gallagher, and with me is our resident Superboy fact checker, Chris Jacobsen.
And I am sporting my Superman hat today.
Yeah, you've been telling us for a while that you've got a Superman hat. You just didn't know where it was, and you found it. So it's awesome.
Found it under the desk the other night.
Awesome. So now we've got matching hats. It's it's a shame Sam's not here because he's got one as well. It would have been, the Three Musketeers. But anyway, today we are going to be doing something a little bit different for our podcast. It's the viewer mail section, kind of. You might remember if you watched the last episode of the podcast, at the very end, I asked the questions: what's your favorite episode of Superboy? What's your least favorite episode of Superboy? And who is your favorite guest star from the show? And honestly, we've had a ton of responses on Instagram and Facebook. But before anybody leaves a comment on this video saying, why didn't you read our comment? The last episode of the podcast is coming out literally about an hour after we're recording this. So there will be a follow-up episode. These are just the initial ones from Facebook and Instagram. But at some point, we will be doing a follow-up, and we will definitely be getting to your comments there. So, and we do thank everybody who has participated in this, past and future as it may be. But this is going to be fun, I think. It's always interesting to know who's, what's everybody's favorite, what's their least favorite. It's just fun to know.
Yep.
But let's start with the very first one. This is from Facebook. This is in our Facebook group. Rob O'Connor says his favorite episode is No Line Enemy, followed closely by Mind Games and Into the Mystery. Special mention to The Fix-Up, which I actually think is a pretty great Lex Luthor episode. Before we continue with the rest of his comment, absolutely agree. Like, those are some great episodes. Scott Wells' performance wasn't particularly good in The Fixer, but
though it was better than it was in Jewel Technical.
Absolutely, it was. Like, he improved in every appearance that he did on that show. It's just a shame we couldn't, as we said when we listened to that interview with him, it's a shame he wasn't able to continue with it. But the Fixer is actually a pretty fun Luthor storyline, fixing basketball games. Okay, he's not the criminal genius Luthor, but give him a break. The guy's in college. Like, he's just starting out his criminal empire. But great choices there. No Line Enemy is just, what an episode. Just,
there's no arguments there. Matisse episode, right?
It is indeed, yeah. And it's a little bit of trivia. It's actually his favorite episode that he wrote for the show as well. He told me that on Twitter, which is nice. But one of the best episodes, and obviously one of your favorites. Well, both our favorites really. Into the Mystery. It's one that I'd sort of forgotten about for a while, but you reminded me of it. I watched it again, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And
we did a commentary on it too.
Yeah, and it's immediately just risen in my ranking of episodes, and just a great episode. So
and don't forget, I made a reference to it in my Metallo episode.
Yeah, Metallo's Blaze of Glory. There's a nice little Into the Mystery reference. And it probably won't be the last time as well. If we ever kill off any other major characters, maybe we'll, bring Death back. But
she's not actually listed as Death in the end credits. She's listed
as
Azrael.
Azrael. Is Azrael the Angel of Death, though?
Yes.
Oh, same thing. Kind of, I guess. But yeah, no, that's awesome. And and it totally works as well, because obviously you think Death is this villainous character, and actually she's just doing a job in that episode. She's doing something that has to be done, and there's no malice behind it. It's actually almost a kindness in a way, because people aren't suffering anymore. Really, really great episode. Great take on the character of the Angel of Death, and really, really good choices there. Favorite guest star, Rob O'Connor says, if we don't count Sherman Howard, Douglas Myers, or Michael Callan. Yeah, that's a good distinction. I probably should have said that instead of regular guest stars. Maybe I should have focused the question more on the one-time guest stars or something. But just for this time, you can count Sherman Howard. You can count Douglas Myers. You can count Michael Callan. They're all awesome. But yeah, he says his favorite guest star, if you don't count them, is the guy that played the not Vandal Savage in Wish for Armageddon. He says it's a really memorably
Robert
creepy
Maiano.
performance. What's his name?
Robert Maiano.
Robert Maiano. Superboy fact checker, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's also one of my favorite episodes. So.
Right, yeah. So you would remember, but
and also he was a big actor in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I have this movie, and you're gonna laugh when I tell you I have this. It's called Storm Chaser. It's a Dolph Lundgren movie, and he's the evil general in it.
That's cool. But yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Wish for Armageddon, to be honest. We really should do a commentary on it soon, just so I've got an excuse to watch it again. Not that I really need an excuse to watch Superboy, but I think it would be a fun commentary for sure. But yeah, he says really memorably creepy performance, and from what I do remember from the episode, yeah, you nailed it. Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool, very interesting choice. I like that a lot. Least favorite episode is probably something from season 2, and he lists a couple. Johnny Casanova, which I know is your least favorite, as you mentioned at the end of the last podcast. Yellow Perry, yeah, I know you love Yellow Perry. It's a guilty pleasure episode for me. There's stuff in it I like, but it's not one of my favorites. I certainly wouldn't have put it in my least favorites, though.
Yeah, me neither.
But
I mean, come on, listen to Kiefer in that costume. Come on.
That is definitely one of the things to like about it for sure. But for people who haven't followed us on the Superboy Legacy Instagram, I did just restore a behind the scenes photo of Elizabeth Kiefer in her suit on that. She is wearing a gown. Obviously, I think it's outdoors. She must have been cold in that outfit. But I just think it's a really nice photo. So if you haven't followed us on Instagram, go check that out, because it's a really nice photo, and I hadn't seen it before restoring it. But Yellow Perry, I don't know if I would have put that on my least favorites, but it's the great thing about this. We're asking for opinions, and we absolutely respect yours. And I might have. I mean, I can understand why some people don't like it. Okay, because the stuff with the dummy is pretty ridiculous. I don't think that many comic book fans would be too annoyed about that, purely because, I mean, Batman fans know about like Mr. Scarface, and that's just a talking dummy. I don't think there's any real difference. I mean, one is magic and the other one is more of a psychological thing. But I mean, in some versions, Mr. Scarface is absolutely sentient. Like, it depends entirely on the era that he's being presented in.
Yeah.
But, I don't think that's the problem. I wonder if it's just the same reason it's only a guilty pleasure for me. It's not that fantastic of an episode. Mostly just because it could have been so much better.
Yeah.
That's all it really comes down to.
It probably could have used a little bit of a polish, or even getting Bob Rozakis, DC's Answer Man, who actually wrote the original Yellow Perry stories.
That would have been cool.
And make some slight adjustments. Say, no, you got to change this, or no, you got to change this. No, this is fine, but amp it up a little bit here. That would
have been so helpful, I'm sure. It kind of resolves kind of quickly as well. I don't know if this necessarily would have had enough to do a 2-parter, but I do wonder sometimes with episodes like this, if just giving the episode the ability to, just some time to breathe, I wonder maybe that would have helped things. I mean, when Superboy loses his face, was that Tiger Eye or was that Yellow Perry? I'm trying to remember.
That was Yellow Perry.
Yeah. So when he loses his face, that would have been a perfect part 1 episode cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Come back next week. Superboy's lost his face. What's he going to do? Like, it would have been, there were a bunch of ways to do it, but it's interesting. And his next suggestion is one that I've seen a couple of times. yeah, his next suggestion is Mr. and Mrs. Superboy, aka the Mixers Pitlick one. I kind of see where he's coming from. I enjoy it a lot because it's mixy.
Yeah.
But it's not as good as his first appearance, for one. There was a lot more to like in his first episode, especially the stuff where he's impersonating Clark and he's doing that sort of creepy flirting with Lana. Like, John Newton did such a good job at playing a version of Mixie in that episode.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Superboy is just kind of sitcom-y, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it could have worked, if they leaned into it a bit more and sort of gone like full WandaVision or something with it, and actually maybe they could have done it in black and white and made it look like a honeymooners episode or something. I don't know. I'm sure there are ways they could have fixed it, but
it's kind of surprising how that it's not as good as the original, because it is written by Denny O'Neil, who wrote the original.
Yeah, and Denny O'Neil. I mean, let's face it, he's a legend. Like, he's an absolute legend.
God rest his soul. He just passed away last year. So
yeah, rest in peace, Denny O'Neil. One of the best. But yeah, I wonder if it's just a case of his talent not quite not quite surviving the move to television in a way. Yeah. Maybe he's really, really, really good at writing comics, but who knows?
Well, I know,
and maybe the script was better. It might have been a budget issue. Maybe they had to cut quite a lot. Maybe there was more magic and mishaps and stuff.
I know he did do other television programs over the years. So maybe
I wonder if it's just a budget thing.
Could be a budget thing. It could also have been that was his first foray into TV, and
first attempts. He did the first Mixie episode. It was good, but again, it's a very season 1 episode, so it's not perfect by any stretch.
Yeah.
But it's still a really fun episode. It's one of the best episodes from that season. But yeah, it's just not quite as good. I do see why it's one of your least favorites. I still really like it myself, just because I don't know. I think with Superboy, more and more, I'm able to appreciate an episode just for the concept behind it, rather than how well the episode turned out. And it's not something I can do for every episode. There's some episodes where I love the concept, but I can't enjoy the episode, like Obituary for a Superhero. I think the idea behind that episode is really solid, but it didn't work.
Since you brought that up, you're going to laugh at this.
That's my least favorite, by the way. Well, so just before we move on, that's my pick for least favorite.
Okay. Yeah. I would say it is kind of meh. But when that first aired, that was in my stage of recording the episodes every week. And as soon as it starts in with that whole beginning where you think it's a news program, I automatically stopped recording. I'm like, crap!
Oh well, at least you've got your DVDs now,
Yeah.
But I can imagine that was quite irritating. Was there at least like a rerun, like in the middle of the night?
There was, yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's one thing that was always good in the UK. Like, there was the one episode of like the one copy of Mindscape that I had as a kid. I only have that recorded because I'd watched the same episode earlier that day, and it's an episode that I'd seen before, because for some reason, I don't know if it was just the UK I don't know, maybe the channel thought that was the best episode, so it aired it more often. But it always seemed to be Mindscape that was on. But yeah, I watched it, and then I realized, I want it on video, and I looked, and it was like, oh, it's on again at 3 a.m. So I was like, Mom, can you show me how to set the video? And yeah, perfect. From then on, I had 2 episodes on VHS, and that was Bride of Bizarro Part 2, because Part 1 I never actually saw because it never seemed to be on.
Yeah.
And and Mindscape.
Which is one of the best of season 3.
It's one of the best, period, I think.
Yeah.
It's just a really good episode. Mike Carlin wrote it, and I mean, he's a legend in his own right as well. Like, Mike, how much we love you. Like,
Yep.
We say it often enough. But it's and the fact that he was basing it loosely on Alan Moore's For the Man Who Has Everything as well, something that he freely admitted to me in the past as well. It's just like, yeah, we weren't allowed to straight up adapt it. We had to change things, which is why there's the nightmares and all that. But that was the idea.
Yep.
But yeah. So yeah, to finish that comment, he says after the Mixie thing, he says season 2 is his least favorite season. He says they got the tone all wrong, and Gerard Christopher was a step down from John Newton in his opinion. You know, we've chatted to a bunch of people who share that opinion and do prefer John Newton. I don't really agree. I think season 2 was definitely an improvement for me, but there were definite missteps. Like the way that Gerard Christopher played Clark Kent, for example, was just all wrong. Like it was, I mean, well, it wasn't wrong, but it's, you know, it's, I don't know really how he expected it to be super successful when he was just doing a Christopher Reeve impression. I think, you know, season 3 is when his Clark Kent really got good because he was playing it the way
he wanted. Yeah.
He was playing his version of Clark Kent finally. And, you know, season 2 Clark Kent is definitely not as good as season 1 Clark Kent. But I do argue that season 3 and 4 Clark makes up for it.
But, I tend to think of it,
my opinion.
You know, and we've discussed this before. I tend to think of it as, you know, he was in season 2, he was kind of testing out the nerdy Clark to try and keep, you know, people from thinking that he and Superboy are the same person. You know, he's going away from the Clark that he was in season 1. And then maybe in between season 2 and 3, he realized that didn't work. I'm just going to go back to being me, because he is, because the Clark that you see in seasons 1 and 3 is pretty much the same. Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, season 1 Clark, season 3 and 4 Clark, even Dean Cain's Clark, very, very similar takes. They're, you know, people, it's funny, and it does annoy me a little bit when people always go on about how Dean Cain kind of reinvented Clark Kent and nobody had really done it that way before. It's like, well, you know, Gerard Christopher did in season 3 and 4, John Newton did, George Reeves did. You know, George Reeves's Clark is not the bumbling fool. George Reeves's Clark is very much the modern Clark Kent.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. It's one of those, you know, as kind of, I consider myself a pretty big Superman fan, obviously.
Yes.
But it's one of those things that annoys me. I'm going to go off on a tangent, but just for a second.
Okay.
The only thing that pisses me off more is when people say Christopher Reeves.
I gotcha.
It's Christopher Reeve. It's George Reeves. I get why the confusion is there, but at the end of the day, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
To remember who's who. And at the same time, I just think it's kind of a disrespect to the memories of both men to constantly get their names wrong, because I have seen it the other way as well. I've seen people say George Reeve.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You know, I could see somebody doing it if they're like, you know, 7 years old.
Yeah. But when it's a 30-year-old man or something.
When you're an adult and you can read things properly, then you need to be showing respect.
It's like I saw someone tweet, like, it must have been about a year ago now, but they literally tweeted the poster for Superman the movie, which has Christopher Reeve's name on it, and in the tweet said Christopher Reeves was the best Superman ever. It's like, well, if he's the best Superman ever, can you know, at least get his name right? I mean, it's right there in front of you. You literally posted a picture with his name in it. Sorry, I know it's petulant. I know I'm being a child in a way.
It's not petulant. It is not petulant. You know, we're just trying to show respect to the men who played the character. That's it.
Yeah. And, you know, it's... I'll just show you 1 second. Just out of respect for Christopher Reeve. I mean, that I made when I was a work experience. It used to be really shiny. It's made of copper. Superman thing. But I've got one of the Christopher Reeve go forward. Christopher Reeve Foundation keyrings. Just yeah. It's I think showing respect to someone that, let's face it, without his performance, Superman the movie probably wouldn't have been the success it was. Okay, it was still a good movie, but I mean, if you watch any of the screen tests with the other actors that tried out for Superman, some of them were just really awful, and it's just like, yeah, Superman the movie might not have worked without Christopher Reeve. He deserves your respect.
Yeah, and you know, some of the choices that they were looking at to play the character. I mean, Warren Beatty.
I love Sylvester Stallone. Warren Beatty, like you just said, I love Sylvester Stallone. I think he's great in Rocky. I can't believe that after Rocky 1, they were considering briefly, you know, Rocky 1 was getting buzz because of the script and that, and I don't know. At one point, apparently Stallone was thought he was in the running for Superman at one point. Completely would have been so wrong for it. It's not even funny. Like, I think he's a great actor.
Yeah, you know, a friend of mine that I used to work with, and you know, this is he used to say, you know, as great of an actor as Stallone is, he's too ethnic looking. He looks.
It's not even that. It's not even that for me. I don't care how Italian he looks, because let's face it, like Dean Cain is, I think, what is it, half Japanese?
Yeah, but you can't even see it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's people that absolutely say you can. Like I saw, it was literally just last night. I was on Reddit, and there's a Lois and Clark subreddit, of course, and I'm on all the Superman subreddits, of course I am. But somebody posed the question: do you think Lois? When do you think Lois knew that Clark was adopted? Because as far as anyone could remember, he never actually outright said it in the episode, in any episode. But at some point, and there's even the bit where they go back in time to like cowboy times, and Lois is like, "Oh, Clark, he's one of your ancestors. If he dies, that means you." And Clark sort of looks a bit uncomfortable for a second because he can't exactly say, "Well, I'm technically not related to him."
Yeah.
But it's just Lois and Clark. What was I even going on about? But it's look, you know, this is what happens. I go off on a tangent. I completely forget what I'm talking about.
We do that all the time, Tom.
Yeah, it was something about, what was it that made me go on to Lois and Clark?
Sylvester Stallone, too ethnic looking.
Yeah, someone said, when do you think Lois knew that he was adopted? And someone just commented and said, well, do you think when she probably knew when she met his parents in Smallville? Because it's like, well, neither of them are Japanese. So where do you get it from? She's like, she probably worked out being the world's greatest reporter just based on what he looks like ethnically. He probably adopted.
Yeah.
Either that or Mark Kent cheated. And it's like, clearly after meeting her, you know, that never would have happened. Mark Kent is too much of a sweetheart. She never would do that to Jonathan.
Yeah.
But, although Jonathan did think she was cheating at one point in one episode, because with her art teacher. That was a good episode, actually. But before we go even further off tangent, should we move on to the next comment?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like me to read this one, or would you like to take it?
I think you're reading it from Instagram or Facebook.
Facebook. I'm reading the Facebook ones. If you want to read the Insta.
Yeah. Let me do the Instagram one. All right.
Okay.
The first one comes from our Instagram follower, Graham181. I believe that's Graham Sewell from our Facebook group.
I believe it is.
And he says that To Be Human, parts 1 and 2, are his favorites, with The Invisible People his least favorite. His favorite guest is, well, it's a split between two. That being Barry Myers as Bizarro and Ron Ely as the Utopian World Superman.
Yeah.
All right. I completely agree with him on the To Be Human. I'm kind of on the same page with The Invisible People, as we've discussed before. You know, that episode.
I mean, everybody. I think at this point, I've not exactly hidden my feelings on the episode. Yeah, I like the concept. I think the episode was a train wreck, but it's, you know.
Although Greg Morris from Mission Impossible as our guest star in that episode, he was great.
Yeah, and you know. And he's got ties to other Superman media as well. Obviously, his son played Martian Manhunter in Smallville, which is awesome. Just one of the Smallville connections that Superboy has, along with David Nutter, and I think David Nutter directed for Smallville anyway. He directed everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, Graham also commented on the Facebook, and he's actually added 2 more to his guest star listing.
Okay.
He also says Noel Neal and Jack Larson in Paranoia should get a special mention category, which I thoroughly agree with. Yeah.
I mean, those 2 were very good in that episode. I was having a conversation with a guy by the name of Lou Koza. He's a big Adventures of Superman fan. He grew up watching, George Reeves. And his statement to me is, and while I don't necessarily disagree with him, I also don't necessarily agree with him. He said that they were kind of a waste. They were kind of wasted in that episode. Okay. Because they were barely there for more than 5 minutes tops.
I mean, on screen maybe for 5 minutes, but they were there throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
I would argue that they definitely had kind of a spotlight in the episode. They were given more of a focus than even the villains of the episode at times. I kind of see where he's coming from, but I don't think I agree.
What he thinks they should have been, and I understand why they couldn't have done it like this, is he feels that they should have been from the future, those 2, and it be them playing Lois and Jimmy, come back to prevent Superman's death as Superboy.
See, we know why they couldn't do it. They didn't have the rights to the characters. It's they got in trouble even for using Metallo, but using Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, definitely not. Maybe in the tie-in comics, but at that point it's no longer those actors. I do see where he's coming from, but it just wouldn't have been possible. And I think for what it is, I mean, let's face it, they've got more screen time in a 20-minute episode of Superboy than either of them did in Superman Returns. And there was a lot of promotion, a lot of press saying they're both in this movie. Yeah. I think the episodes, it's one of my favorite episodes anyway. I just love the fact that they're in it. I don't necessarily agree with what he said there.
Yeah,
to be honest, I do see where he's coming from, but I worry that he's got maybe his affection for Adventures of Superman has clouded his judgment a tiny bit, maybe. But, although I do see where he's coming from,
just a tad.
But it's that would have been a really fun story. I would love to see an episode where they play a future Lois and Jimmy coming back in time to save Superboy's life. That would have been a really cool concept for an episode. And I would have loved to have seen it, but unfortunately it wouldn't have been possible anyway, because there's no way Warner Brothers would have given them permission.
Yeah.
Especially since they were probably already thinking about starting Lois and Clark at this point. Like, it wasn't called Lois and Clark, but they were at least considering Superman coming to the screen at some point again.
Yeah.
Because, those conversations don't just happen overnight. Like, that stuff builds for a while. But did he say anything else in that comment? His pick, he says, is Barry Myers overall. He's outstanding in Bizarro. Absolutely agree. Obviously, we've had Barry / Douglas on the show. He's just an awesome guy. We always,
of course, his mention of Ron Ely as the Utopian World Superman.
Yeah. We shouldn't gloss over that. Road to Hell is. I mean, how difficult would it be to follow up a couple of episodes as good as Road's Not Taken? And then they did it with Road to Hell, and I argue it's just as good.
Yeah,
like it doesn't have sequelitis like Mr. and Mrs. Superboy did.
Yeah,
it's a perfect follow up to the previous one. It picks up again with all those characters. My only complaint is that it's not in season 4, because I would have liked a Rhodes episode in both seasons. It doesn't really make any difference. It's just, for my preference, I would have liked that. But
yeah, and plus,
I think at one point it was supposed to be season 4 because he's got the royal blue outfit on, which is the season 4 suit, even though this is the season 3 finale. But Mike Carlin did tell us that they shot all in one go, so that does explain why there's some overlap.
Yeah, and Ron Ely has a distinction amongst a lot of actors. He's played 3 of the most famous, literary characters from American literature: Tarzan, Doc Savage, and Superman, essentially. So
if he was British, he could have played Sherlock Holmes as well, I'm sure. I mean, but then America had an American Sherlock Holmes a few years ago on TV, didn't they?
Elementary. It was Johnny Lee Miller.
Yeah. Oh, who is actually? I think he's British or Scottish. Yeah. Did he play it as American though?
No, he played it as a Brit.
Good. Okay.
But he was living in New York.
Right. And Watson was what's her name from Kill Bill?
Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu, yeah. So her name just escaped me for a second, but she's so good in Kill Bill. She's good in Charlie's Angels as well. I mean, let's face it, those movies aren't amazing, but I mean they were well cast. I think they did very good. They did a great job. But anyway, let's move on to the next comment. This one's from Facebook. Brian McKernan says, favorite episode, Wish for Armageddon. We've already talked about that a little bit. Least favorite, again, Invisible People. And guest stars, Noel Neal and Jack Larson in Paranoia. So very quick comment there because I think we've discussed all of those points. Brian, thank you so much for your comment. As with everybody else, we really do thank you. Some great picks. Clearly, they're good picks by the fact that somebody else has the same.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Since that one was it was so quick, I might as well just move on to the next one anyway. Kyle Boring says, my favorite episode is Standoff, which had some creative ways of keeping Clark's identity a secret, which was later ripped off in Lois and Clark. He says he remembers watching it during the original airing as a kid and being legitimately worried that his cover would be blown. It's been a long time since I've seen Standoff, but I do vaguely.
We need to do a commentary on it. Definitely.
And anytime there's an episode where somebody brings it up and I'm like, it's been a while, I'm just like, right, add that to the list. That's on the commentaries. So, next commentaries, we've got Wish for Armageddon and Standoff. So what the next 2 episode commentaries on Superboy are going to be from us. So it's another reason why we thank you.
There's more suggestions.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure there will be more suggestions, but it's, we can never have too many.
Yep.
But least favorite, Countdown to Nowhere. He says he knows it was the pilot episode and they were still figuring things out, but the acting is bad and the effects are laughable. Completely agree. Yeah, especially that shot where he's in front of the rocket and it's like, it just looks bad.
Yeah, I mean they did kind of do a better version of it with that bumper, the bumper scenes, where it's kind of set in the past, but that was when they re-aired it. And unfortunately, that version of the episode is not available anywhere.
Yeah. Although if you do want to see the alternate opening and ending of that episode, it is on my personal YouTube channel. I'll include a link in the description or the comments section. If you do want to see that version, if you've never seen it before, it's easy enough to find. If you just search YouTube for Superboy Countdown to Nowhere alternate opening, you'll find it.
Yep.
But I prefer the alternate version. It's a shame it's not included on the DVD, as you say. It's the better version.
Even as a bonus feature, it should have been put on.
Yeah. Just season 1 had bonus features, so why not include this? They had a behind the scenes documentary. Like, even if they didn't include the whole episode, they could have just had a deleted scenes from Countdown to Nowhere section, even though they're not technically deleted. Just include them there.
Yeah, I mean, they could have put it on as, these were scenes that were added in for a later broadcast of the episode.
Yeah, perfect. Or just make an option. You hit play on Countdown to Nowhere. It says original version, alternate version. There you go. But the alternate version has that fantastic little gag at the end where Superboy has to leave really quick, and he flies out and says bye, Clark. And it's like, and then Clark comes stumbling in and knocks the picture over, and it's just really fun, sort of.
And John kind of just winks at the camera.
Yeah, he's just like, TJ's just like, you went out to get burgers at the weirdest time. And he's just like, TJ, without me, the interview would be nothing. It's great. A little wink to camera, very George Reeves. Yeah, Countdown to Nowhere. I completely agree. The special effects are terrible. The acting's not good. Even John Newton, who I like as Clark Kent and Superboy, he's not at his best in this episode. He's
a little bit wooden.
He's just a bit wooden, especially working on the green screen. But I mean, let's face it, for an actor just starting out, I mean, there's actors that have worked 40, 50 years that get in front of a green screen and don't know what to do. Yeah. Half the actors in the Star Wars prequels were completely lost. It's why you've got some great actors in that movie that don't put in necessarily the best performances, because they had no idea what they were supposed to be looking at half the time, and the other half of the time, the only direction George Lucas would give them is faster and more intense. That's George Lucas's own joke that he only gives two pieces of direction: faster and more intense. So of course it doesn't work. But I love George Lucas, but at the same time, wow. But do you want to read the next one from Instagram?
Yeah, this one is from Jake Tibbs 34. He says, favorite episode, the original Bizarro two-parter. Whenever I introduce someone to the show, it's with that episode. Favorite guest star, Michael J. Pollard as Mrs. Pitlick.
Fair enough. Yeah, and that original Bizarro two-parter, it's so good. And the reason it's so good is because it's almost a one-to-one adaptation of the comic. Obviously, it isn't one-to-one, but it's a closer adaptation than I think comic book fans are used to seeing. It's one of the reasons that I always say that when Superman, like people who are fans of the Superman comics, especially this Silver and Bronze Age stuff, when they, if they watch Superboy for the first time, when they start noticing that episodes are being adapted from the comics so closely, that's when we got them. It's when a new Superboy fan appears out of nowhere and realizes just how much the show's creators cared, you got a fan for life. It's part of the reason why I think, despite so many people not even knowing the show exists, those that do are pretty diehard for this show. It's one of the reasons I am, but I mean, it's not the only reason I am. I just, it's a great show anyway.
And that two-parter is what introduced Sam to the show, and that's what got him started and what got us started.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've said this actually on the air, so I apologize if Sam gets embarrassed if he ever does, hear this. But literally, when I was in high school, I used to eat my lunch quickly, go to the library, find a computer that was free, and I would just spend the rest of my lunch hour on superboyhomepage.com, reading episode synopsises, looking at screenshots, just photos that he'd uploaded at that point. Very, very basic Superboy homepage, but at that time, I was on it all the time. Yeah. And if I'd known back then that eventually I'd be working with him and then doing this, and then eventually, like Sam actually saying to me, like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. You've got the keys to the kingdom. Like, Superboy Legacy's yours now. I'd be like, holy shit! Like, I wouldn't have believed me. And yeah. It's why I feel so privileged and honored to be doing what I'm doing.
You made a good friend here with me, so
absolutely. Like, he wouldn't have introduced me to you. We probably would have interacted at some point on a message board or in the comments section or something. But yeah, Superboy has been a show that so many great things in my life have sprung from. And I'm eternally grateful to the show creators and the writers and the actors and just everybody involved, the producers. yeah, I feel eternally privileged to be doing what we're doing. I'm getting really sappy now, so let's move on to another comment before I start
Well,
crying.
actually, there was a comment, a reply comment.
Oh yeah,
from the Superboy Legacy page.
that might have been me.
Yeah, it says, "Good picks. Do you have a least favorite episode?" And then he added in, "It's got to be Invisible People. My first viewing of the series. That episode made me consider quitting."
Yeah. A bunch of people have said Invisible People, as we said. Graham, who we mentioned a moment ago, also said Invisible People. There's another comment a bit later on, guy named Angel Ocampo. He also put Invisible People with the comment "boring," but next to it. So yeah, Invisible People is not a favorite of anyone's.
Yeah.
It seems I'm very kind to that episode. Maybe I shouldn't be, but after getting all these comments, just to let you know a little bit behind the scenes for the people watching, it did prompt me to actually find the writer of that episode on Twitter and Instagram, and I have been emailing back and forth with him. I've not heard from him actually from about a week. He's not replied to my last email, but I'm trying to get him on the show because I think it would be a really interesting episode for the people that hate the episode, just to hear what his intentions actually were with it and what the fuck happened. I think it'd be a really fun one. So if you want me to keep trying and keep pestering him, I'm not going to go overboard, obviously, but yeah, I think that would be a fun episode.
Yeah, you're not going to be Bart Simpson with the mail carrier saying, "Where's my spy camera? Where's my spy camera?
Yeah.
Where's my spy camera?"
Here's your stupid spy camera. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to pester him. But at the same time, it's just really cool the fact that this podcast actually opens those conversations. I think it'd be really fun to have him on the show and actually maybe get the episode some redemption in the eyes of the fans, but not going to happen anytime soon. I will keep people posted on that. We are trying. I think that would be a really interesting interview, but
Yep.
even if, as he said to me, it would be very short because he doesn't have much to say on it. But yeah, we'll take whatever we can get. But yeah, I might as well read the next comment.
Okay.
David Smith says he's only got one thing. It just says season 1, episode 1, when Superboy saved Lana for the first time. I'm not sure if that is his favorite, least favorite, because season 1, episode 1, Jewel of Tetracal in general is. I mean, I'm assuming that's the one he's talking about and not Countdown to Nowhere. I think
it's Countdown to Nowhere because he doesn't save Lana in Jewel of Tetracal.
Does he not?
No.
Well, maybe it's his least favorite then. But yeah.
Then again, he could just be saying that he loves the sequence when he rescues her.
Yeah. He that might have been the moment that he knew that he was going to like this show because of the super saves. So yeah, I should have replied to his comment a couple of days ago or something and had a chance for him to clarify. But I do apologize for that, David. We do appreciate your comment though. Douglas B. Myers has commented. He's not said his least favorite, and he's not said his favorite guest star, but he has just said to be human. Completely understandable. Such a good episode.
And most of that 2-parter he got to do without the Bizarro makeup,
which is probably why it's his favorite. It's like for once he can show up on set an hour before recording and nobody minds. Like it's got a sharp I don't know how long he had to spend in the makeup trailer putting all that stuff on.
Probably 3 hours.
Yeah. So it's like for once he can show up on set and he's basically able to just walk on screen. I'm sure that was wonderful and freeing as an actor, I'm trying to remember when we interviewed him. I seem to remember him saying that he was actually slightly nervous about it because he hadn't really played himself on screen and it was more of a playing himself type deal. But you absolutely can't tell. He's astounding in that episode as Bill Zaro. Such a good episode, just one of the best. And Douglas, thank you for commenting. We weren't
Absolutely.
expecting someone actually from the show to chime in, so that's really nice.
Isn't he the only one from the show who's actually on the page?
What, on the Facebook group?
Yeah.
Well, there's writers and stuff from the show are in there. I know Mike Carlin's in the group. He doesn't comment on things or like things very often, but occasionally he'll like a photo or whatever that I've restored. So that's always nice. So he's in there. I think he's just, yeah. But there's only one comment left from Facebook. Might as well just get this one done so that then you can just read off all the rest of the Instagram comments.
Okay.
So Angel Ocampo. Love your last name, by the way. It reminds me of Star Trek Voyager. That's the Ocampo. But yeah, sorry, making fun of your name. No, I'm not making fun of it. I genuinely like your name. Favorite episode: Meet Mr. Mixus Pitlick. Yeah, big comedy and fun. He says also settles an approach to comic characters. Settles on an approach to the comic characters besides the well-known young Luthor. Yeah, I see why that would be someone's favorite. It's not necessarily my favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's top 3 episodes of season 1 for me.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, completely understand that. And we've talked about Michael J. Pollard in this episode already. I think we've already discussed this episode in particular when we discussed Mr. and Mrs. Superboy. So we're not going to go too in depth on that again now. But yeah, completely get your choice. It's a fantastic choice. Yeah, least favorite episode: Invisible People, boring, as I've read before. Favorite guest star: Ron Ely or Eli.
Yeah.
So there we go.
That's 2 votes for Mr. Eli. So
yeah, and 5 votes for least favorite for Invisible People, something like that. I think it's pretty unanimous almost. Like the vast majority is Invisible People is the worst episode, but. Yeah, I think that's thoroughly enjoyable. Thank you to everybody who commented on the Facebook group again. Let's move back on to Instagram.
Okay, so the next one comes from Cullen428. Favorite episode, Roads Not Taken, 2-parter. Least favorite, Stand Up and Get Knocked Down. Favorite guest star, Ron Eli is Superman.
There we go.
That's 3 votes for Mr. Eli.
Yeah, and you know what? I wish I could say I was surprised. I think a few people as well didn't count, like with that first comment where people were like, if we don't count Sherman Howard or Douglas Myers, I think a lot of people would have chosen them, to be honest. But I think people are assuming, I don't know, maybe I'm making assumptions now, but I think a lot of people assumed that they're more of a regular guest star than a one-off. I don't know. But Ron Ely, I mean, wow. Or is it Ely or Eli? I don't know.
I think it's Eli. Eli. That's the way I've always said it. So,
but he's so good in that episode. Like it's
yeah. I mean, it's funny. Just that scene when Superboy's lying on the table and he hits him, and he's like, "You hit me, yeah, and I'll do it again if you don't calm down."
Yeah, and he's like, "But it hurt." He's like so confused. Like, you hit me and it hurt. Like that's not normal. Just awesome. And there's another great moment. I think it's actually my favorite moment in those 2 episodes is Lex, the version of Lex from that version walks into, I think Superman is actually living in the Bureau building in that episode, if I remember right. And like he walks up the stairs and like approaches him. He's like, reading that a little slowly, aren't you? And he's like, because he's reading this book, he's like, it's poetry, Lex. Sounds better in my head when I go slow. And I'm just like, wow, I love that moment. It gives me goosebumps because I'm like, yeah, Superman could technically read an entire library's worth of books in like a minute, but he reads slow because he wants to savor the experience. He's enjoying his poetry, and I think there's something very Superman about that. And I think it's just yet another example of the writers of this show really getting the character, like in a way that I don't know. Let's face it, like even some of the best Superman shows on screen, I think none of them quite got the character quite as well as Superboy. If that makes sense. Maybe just purely because they had the benefit of adapting comic book stories straight from the screen. So it's like if they were doing something wrong and something wouldn't make sense with their version of Superboy, they'd know they're making a mistake somewhere.
Yeah.
But, yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. It's great that Ron Eli keeps getting mentioned over and over again. It's like he's the anti-invisible people.
Yep.
But
let's see.
Let's go on to the next comment.
Yeah. So the next one comes from Mark NYY618. I hope I said that right. He says the Rhodes episode are easily my favorites. He doesn't really specify whether it's Rhodes Not Taken or Road to Hell or all four of them.
You know what? I'd always feel comfortable just lumping all four in together. Just call it, the Rhodes saga.
He goes on. He says, I think there were four of them. I can't think of my least favorite off the top of my head. I would have to rewatch.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yep.
And you know what, as well? It's maybe even a good sign when somebody can't think of a least favorite without a rewatch, because there are 1,000 shows where you can point to and say that's the worst episode without even having to think.
Yeah.
The fact that with Superboy, it actually does take some thought. Either that says that there's so many bad episodes in the early years that it genuinely is difficult to pinpoint one, but it might also be saying that actually, even at its worst, Superboy is not really a bad show. Like, even at its worst, there's a lot to love. Like season 1, the worst season of the show, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinions, but there's a lot to love in season 1. There really is.
I mean, look at season 1. You have great episodes like the Alien Solution and the Revenge of the Alien 2-parter.
You got Hollywood. You've got
Luthor Unleashed. Meet Mrs. Pitlick.
Yeah, A Kind of Princess.
Yeah,
is a really solid episode. Like, it's not the most comic booky episode, but I think it's a really well told story, and the acting's good in it.
And I mean, look at who you had in A Kind of Princess. You have Julie McCullough, who has gone on to become a stand-up comedian now.
Awesome. And she follows me on Twitter. I felt so proud when she did. Like, I was like, oh my god.
And the actor who played her father, I forget his name, but he was known for his frequent guest appearances on MASH.
I recognize him, but I never knew what.
Yeah, and he played a character called Colonel Flagg.
Right. I've never seen MASH, but I'm sure if I pulled up his IMDb and scrolled through, it's like huge.
Ed Winter. That's who it was. Ed Winter.
I'm sure I would pinpoint it. If I saw a list of all his credits, I'm sure I'd work out what I knew him from elsewhere. But yeah, he was really good in that.
Remember what you were saying the last time when we were talking in the Ruby Spears commentary, and I was mentioning that it would take a few seconds for me to remember stuff.
There we are.
Brain's not as sharp as it used to be.
It's all right though, because I mean, let's face it, you still can pull this stuff out of your brain faster than I can. So, but yeah, I completely agree with his picks. The Rhodes saga is absolutely a highlight of this show, which is yet one of the, it's one of the many reasons why I was pissed off that Gerard Christopher or John Newton didn't get at least a mention of some kind or cameo in, Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW, because it's the big multiversal story that they were building up to, and they didn't pay homage to the first live action DC show to even have a multiverse. I just thought that was a bit shit, especially since they even had like a cameo from Birds of Prey, and who the fuck cares about Birds of Prey?
Yeah, I mean, Superboy has pretty much become the forgotten Superman show.
Yeah, that and Ruby Spears, which is why we're doing commentaries on that too. And as Graham, who we've read a comment from earlier in this episode, said to us, like, he considers himself a pretty massive Superman fan. He only found out that show existed about 2 years ago or something, I think he said.
Yeah.
And now he's watching it alongside us as well, or watching it maybe for the second time alongside us, I think.
Yeah.
But the Forgotten Superman shows, and it's a damn shame. It really is. And just yet another reason why I'm so proud to be doing what I'm doing, because I think this stuff deserves to be remembered. Like, you know, it's not many people's favorite Superman show, but I tell you what, there's more of us than you think. There really are.
Yeah,
There's a lot more of us than you'd think.
I mean, I can understand why Gerard didn't get a cameo. I mean, he pretty much is no longer acting.
Yeah, but I mean, someone from it could have got a cameo. You know, Sherman Howard's still acting. You could have had him in there as an alternate Lex Luthor or something.
Yeah, and I mean,
I'm
John.
sure he would have done it as well, because he voiced, what was it, Steppenwolf in Justice League or Superman animated series?
Superman animated series. He was the Preserver, and he was Steppenwolf. And then later on in Batman Beyond, he was the voice of Derek Powers, aka the Blight.
Yeah. So I'm sure he would have done it if they called on him. Say, do you want to play Lex Luthor one more time? Even if it was just a small cameo, like they had John Cryer's Lex Luthor going through the multiverse, killing Superman. Maybe he gets to one Earth and finds, he has to fight himself, like another version of Lex. He's like, no, he's mine to kill. It's like, you could have had a Lex versus Lex fight. That would have been awesome. It's like, no, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh well, never mind. But
yeah. All right. Well, the next comment. The next comment is actually a repeat of the one from Jake Tibbs, so we're going to skip that.
Okay.
The next one after that is from Mike. I hope I'm pronouncing the name. Mike Zummo, Zummo. And he also votes for Roads Not Taken as his favorite episode. Least favorite episode, the season 1 episode where Lana was turned into a snake. Don't remember that. That's actually a season 2 episode, and that's the woman called Tiger Eye. So, yeah. Mike, I agree with you on that one. It is a really bad episode, but it's actually a season 2 episode.
Yeah, that is a stinker. It's not a good episode at all. I think the only reason we've already done a commentary on that episode was because of the unfortunate passing of the actress that played Tiger Eye.
Yeah.
The only reason we did commentaries on that was kind of as a tribute. But she was in 2 episodes, and I argue that Mutant, it was Mutant, wasn't it, in season 1? Like, I argue Mutant is a much better episode than Tiger Eye. It's still not one of the best episodes, but again, it's a guilty pleasure, and I would happily watch Mutant 1,000 times more, rather than watch, Tiger Eye again, necessarily. I doubt I'll even watch that episode again, unless there's actually a reason to watch it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be on my least favorite list.
Yeah.
Next to Obituary for a Superhero.
Yeah. He does now. He says his favorite guest star was easily Michael Callan as Metallo. Okay.
Yeah.
He has a little postscript to that. He says, "I wanted to say Barry Myers, but Callan was so much fun to watch." You know what? I agree with you on that. I mean,
Callan was absolutely brilliant as Metallo. It's funny because he's also quite a divisive version of Metallo for some people, because there's a lot of comic book fans that watch it and they think this Metallo's kind of laughable. He's nowhere near as intimidating as he is in the comics, but at the same time, it's okay. They adapted a lot of stuff for the screen, and they had some of the most one-to-one, like accurate recreations of Bizarro or Mixus Pitlick, but they couldn't.
Even the origin of Lex.
Yeah, definitely. And it just comes to the fact that in order to make Metallo as intimidating as he is in the comics, they would have needed a lot more money. So they kind of had no choice but to reinvent him. Like, I see his version of Metallo as just an excellent way to reinvent the character. And I don't think the actor and the writers get nearly enough respect for that, because I truly think that it's one of the most magical things about Superboy is just the portrayal of some of the villains in the show. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, my friend Greg, he often says that, it's really a testament to an actor that they can take the biggest pile of crap and turn it into gold. And his example on this, and you're gonna laugh, is Samuel L. Jackson and Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah, I see what he means. there's no reason, that movie. Okay, it knows exactly what it is. It's a B movie. It's just meant to be schlocky fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would be nowhere near as entertaining if it wasn't for Samuel L. Jackson in that lead role. He makes that movie,
Yeah.
to the fact that as soon as as soon as they announced that Samuel L. Jackson would be starring in a movie called Snakes on a Plane, the whole internet collectively lost their shit and started making up fake trailers saying shit like, "Get these motherfucking snakes off my motherfucking plane." So much so that they did reshoots on the movie to make it R-rated, just so Samuel L. Jackson could say "motherfucker," and they used that line. Other than the Sonic movie, where the fan backlash made them redesign the character, I can't think of many times where that was really done.
Yeah,
that's an excellent example because, Snakes on a Plane would have been a very different movie and would not have been anywhere near as good had the internet not got hold of it and just their collective imaginations just exploded. I remember the early days of YouTube, like half the videos on it were Snakes on a Plane parodies.
Or
Rickrolling, Snakes on a Plane parodies, and that Numa guy.
Yeah.
And Star Wars Kid remixes.
Yeah.
This time he's in the Matrix. I used to love Star Wars Kid.
Yeah.
I hope that guy's doing all right. I did worry about him at the time. Anyway, let's continue.
All right. So the next one is from Ruby H. Bradford. Superboy, Gerard Christopher meet Ron Eli Superman on Part 2 Road to Hell. I'm not sure what they're. I'm hoping they're saying that that's their favorite.
Again? Read it again.
Yeah, it's Superboy, Gerard Christopher meet Ron Eli Superman on Part 2 Road to Hell.
Yeah, I think he's probably just saying his favorite episode. Maybe he can remember the name.
And then it's not going to be easy like reruns either. I missed that show. Okay.
Another vote for Ron Ely. Let's take it as that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always difficult with some comments because you don't know necessarily if maybe the person English might not be their first language.
Right.
So it's difficult. But yeah, I'll take that as just another vote for Ron Ely or Eli because,
and of course,
there's been so many of them. That's probably what he's doing.
Yep. Okay, so the next one comes from R. Wooten 79. Favorite Roads Not Taken, two-parted. That we got another vote for the Roads episodes. Least favorite. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Superboy.
There you go.
Favorite guest star Sherman Howard. Okay, I'll go with that. And then, of course, there was, I think it's your comment back to them. Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Superboy is a divisive episode for sure. Thank you for commenting.
Yeah, that was definitely me. But yeah, it is a divisive episode. I think we've gotten into it plenty. Yeah, just another great comment. And thank you for leaving it.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I think we should really tell what ours are. You want to go first or you want me to go first?
Absolutely. I do have one more comment to read after, though.
Okay.
It's not related to those three questions, but there is one more comment to read just so people don't click off the video not caring because they might already know my ideas. Least favorite obituary for a superhero, as I stated earlier. Favorite episodes, Roads Not Taken. I'm just going to say all four of the roads because, as I said earlier, I think it's fine to lump all four episodes in together because it's basically one complete story spread out.
Yep.
If you were to cut all the episodes between the end of Roads Not Taken and the beginning of Road to Hell and just put them together, it would completely work. It would be fine.
Yeah, and there was a guy who was selling bootleg DVDs back in the late 90s.
Oh yeah.
Early 2000s, and he was actually cutting the 4 episodes together as an entire movie.
I did try that once. I ended up not saving it because it was annoying me that every time a new episode started, you'd have the credits start to appear on screen again, and it was like a dead giveaway of what I'd done. But, yeah, it is a lot of fun to actually watch them all as one long thing, and it does kind of work as a movie. It's a very low budget movie, but at the same time, you know, I enjoyed the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie that was never released, and that's absolutely the same sort of schlocky, low budget fun.
I think Superboy is like a step above that.
It definitely is, but at the same time, the budget was probably even lower.
Yeah,
just purely because, you know, but it's such a fun movie, that Fantastic Four. Maybe we'll have to do a commentary on that at some point. But it is just a really fun movie, and it's kind of hilarious that it's actually more comic accurate than any of the other movies that have come out.
yeah.
But, yeah, favorite guest star. That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to go with Douglas as Bizarro. Yeah, it's just I've always loved the character of Bizarro. Just even as a kid, I just loved his look. I think just from seeing covers of comic books, because my dad had a comic book collection and he had a few Bizarro ones in there. I always just liked how he looked. And then we had him on screen, and I loved that the writers didn't make Bizarro a villain. Like Bizarro, as I like, my niece asked me about Bizarro because I showed her a few episodes, and she said, "Is Bizarro a bad guy?" And I said, "No, he's just very stupid."
I wouldn't say he's stupid. He's
you know, naive maybe is
naive. You know, very simple.
But at the same time, I wasn't sure she'd understand what naive meant because she asked it when she was very small. But you know, it's I love Bizarro. I think he's one of the best characters. The fact that they made him like a brother to Superboy, I think, just elevated that character beyond any other version of Bizarro I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I know some people like the animated Bizarro from Superman the Animated Series.
Oh,
I've seen action figures of it.
No question. That version is really good because that is very Silver Age in it, and the fact that you've got Tim Daly doing the voice of him as well was so great.
Yeah, absolutely great.
Tim Daly, he is a dramatic actor, but he also has comedy experience, and he puts humor into the way he portrays him.
Yeah, it's awesome. And also, obviously, more recently as well, another Superman to play his Bizarro 2 is Tyler Hoechlin in live action. Really interesting take on the character again. I would argue it's not really Bizarro. It's not the Bizarro from the comics anyway, but at the same time, they have the license to, you know, reinterpret things, change details about the characters, like completely reinvent it if they want. They absolutely have the right to do that, and I respect the decision to do that. And I thought, you know, season 2 had a couple of missteps, but overall, it was a really enjoyable season. It's just a really good Superman show, and it's great that Bizarro has, like, finally on screen as well. Like when we saw Bizarro World, it's a cube. Like I never thought we'd actually see that on screen because I figured that the filmmakers or whatever that would have, you know, the opportunity to do that, I figured they probably think it was too silly. But they did it, and they even had like the sun was a cube as well. And it was just great, just really, really good. But even saying all of that, Douglas B. Myers is definitive. I don't think anyone ever did it better before him on TV, like in the animated shows or whatever, and certainly no one's done it better since. The least said about Dean Cain's sort of Bizarro, the better.
You know, you can't fault Dean for that.
No, that's on the writers, that's on the directors, that's absolutely not on Dean Cain. Like, you know, it's a bad episode, but it's completely not his fault at all. Like, you know, there are so many ways to play Bizarro. Playing it like, you know, a 5-year-old would have been probably bottom of my list of things, ways to take it. But there you go. But yeah, Douglas B. Myers as Bizarro, completely agree with everyone that's brought him up. That is my choice. That is my pick. How about you?
All right. So, you know, I have so many favorite episodes. You know,
That's it. It's so difficult. That's why Road's Not Taken. I had to choose that, and it's 4.
I mean,
cheated technically.
I absolutely love Road's Not Taken, both parts. I love Road to Hell. You know, I love the Bizarro two-parter. The first Bizarro two-parter, mind you.
I love Bride of Bizarro as well.
It has its moments. I mean,
it's not as good, but it's still a really fun episode.
The way Lex manipulates him in Bride of Bizarro is so Luthor.
Yeah, and I love the just the writing of it, where he makes Bizarro Darla to be his wife, and she doesn't love him. She loves Lex, and it's like, oh,
yeah, and
that makes sense.
He
has to make her a Bizarro Darla.
Just the beginning of part 2, when he just can't figure it out. Why did she fall for me and not him? Well, I did. You're just a kind of likable guy. And it's like Lex didn't think.
Yeah.
I created Bizarro Darla. She's not going to fall in love with him. She's going to fall for me.
Otherwise, unless there was a secret plot line going on in the background where Darla was secretly in love with Superboy the entire time, it would never have worked.
Yeah.
But, which does remind me, I know I'm getting off topic, but it has just reminded me, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. It was an interview with Ethan Phillips, who played Neelix in Star Trek Voyager. And he said that every character he plays, he always plays them that he has a secret. The character has a secret. And his secret throughout all 7 seasons of Voyager was that Neelix was completely and utterly in love with the captain. And he says, if you go back and watch, he is playing it that Neelix is in love with Janeway the entire time he's on the show. And I love that.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think that's really cool. Sorry to chime in, completely off topic, but what can I say? I'm a nerd. But,
so
yeah.
I mean, I have so many favorite episodes. I mean, the Alien, I call the Alien a 3-parter.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
Yeah. Luthor Unleashed, no question.
It's just a good episode.
It's a good episode.
It's full of funny moments as well. It's one of those episodes that's you can enjoy it on 2 fronts. You can enjoy it just for the episode in general because it's not a bad episode. It's a lot of fun. But you can also enjoy some of the sillier moments. It's like he wants to kill Superboy, so he hires Indiana Jones, Sinbad, and what was the other one?
A ninja.
It's like seriously, he might as well have gone out and hired the village people. It's
oh God, I could just see that YMCA.
Maybe if we ever write a musical episode for season 5, the village people can be in it as music meisters or maestros. Henchmen.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not going to write a musical episode because then we'd have to sing it, and I'm not doing that. So sorry.
Yeah, I'm not doing it either.
There will never be a musical episode of season 5, just so you know. Sorry, unless somebody else wants to sing it for us.
Yep.
In fact,
so
if you do,
I really can't narrow down, my favorite episodes. I mean, obviously,
isn't it?
Yeah, obviously, my least favorite episode. We've discussed it before, even earlier in the episode. Johnny Casanova. Oh God, that is awful.
Yeah, we did talk about Johnny Casanova in last week's episode as well. And I will just restate what I said there. It's only a guilty pleasure episode for me. It's a bad episode. No, there's no getting away from that. It is a really bad episode. But that guy, I forget his name, the guy that plays Johnny Casanova.
Mark Holton.
Yeah, when he was, under the influence of the serum that makes him like that. He's a very charismatic actor. His performance makes the episode enjoyable. It doesn't quite save it though.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who knows pop culture stuff knows him from the Pee Wee Herman movie.
Yeah, he plays like the bully guy, doesn't he?
Yeah, but later on, I think this is the early 2000s. They were direct-to-video movies that were biopics of famous serial killers.
Oh yeah, John Wayne Gacy.
Yes, he played John Wayne Gacy.
He's perfectly cast because as soon as you said serial killer, I was like, wait, he would be a good Gacy.
Yep. I have not seen it. When I worked at Blockbuster, it was there, and I was like, no, I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah. it's not one that I'm gonna seek out necessarily. If it happens to be on YouTube though, and somebody finds it, send us a link on Facebook or Instagram. Let us know.
Yeah.
I might watch it if it's free to watch on YouTube. I'm not going to seek it out though. I'm certainly not buying it on DVD. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately, we don't have the convenience of video rental stores anymore.
yeah, I wish there was still a Blockbuster down the road. I can tell you, I used to love going to Blockbuster.
I used to do that too. Of course, I worked there at the time, so
I applied at one point, but it was it turned out I applied right at the beginning of the summer, and they'd already got enough people for the summer. I said, "Well, come September, we'll be able to do it." I was like, "September, I go back to uni, so I'm not
yeah,
going to be here." So it just never worked out. And literally, by the time university was over, I think Blockbuster was done. So
yeah.
yeah, bit of a shame,
Um,
but yeah,
my favorite guest stars, obviously, Ron Eli. Okay, no question about that.
yeah,
Um, I'm not gonna go the route that everybody else says either Sherman Howard or Barry Myers, but Ron Eli, he is one of my couple of favorite guest stars. The other one being
yeah.
Jay Underwood as the Kryptonite Kid.
He is very good, the Kryptonite Kid. I'm surprised that's nobody's favorite episode because that is a really fun episode. I love all the stuff with like Vic the impersonator.
Yeah,
Just a great episode.
and
I'm surprised nobody brought that one up.
just the fact that Jay Underwood, the way he plays him, you feel sorry for Mike. You really do. He's not.
You do think at one point halfway through the episode, you think actually he had an opportunity to stop at this point and he chose not to.
Yeah.
So you get a bit frustrated with him, but at the same time, you never outright dislike him because like you say, he's a tragic sort of character. You kind of want him to be all right by the end of the episode, really. And obviously, thankfully, with the help of Vic, Superboy is eventually able to.
Yeah, and he's not an overall sinister evil character. I mean, just that scene when he has the hostages and he's threatening them and he says, "Get out of here." It shows that he doesn't want to kill anybody. He's just angry. He's upset.
Yeah. And he's probably like seriously terrified as well. He's like, I'm a very. He was a scientist. He's like, I'm an intelligent guy. I can see that this is probably killing me.
Yeah.
Like, there's every reason to be terrified.
We got to bring him back.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe as a hero this time.
I still like to see him as a villain.
We'd have to find a good reason for it then.
Yeah, but
it'd have to be a damn good reason.
I mean, Jay Underwood is such an underrated actor. I mean,
I've got an idea though for how you bring him back and make him full on evil. They've cured him of his kryptonite thing, or so they thought, but he's still very slightly radioactive. So the people, maybe he's got a girlfriend or a wife, and being in that close proximity, he's leaching kryptonite radiation into her. Maybe she gets cancer and dies, and he blames Superboy because he didn't do the job properly. Or Superman. And he didn't cure him properly. So he didn't know, it's like Lex Luthor's kryptonite ring and how he lost a hand because of it. It's like, living next to what is essentially walking, talking kryptonite probably isn't the best thing for you. So there's probably a damn good reason for him to turn evil again. If we come to that story, just an idea. Maybe we'll come up with something better. It's a bit of a dark way to take it, but there you go. Yeah. Like I say, I'm just surprised that more people didn't say Kryptonite Kid.
Yeah.
Genuinely, that is a really good episode, and yeah, good choice. Jay Underwood was absolutely fantastic. I think with my picks, obviously, I cheated with my episode pick by having 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And obviously, when I said my favorite guest star, I did just talk any type of guest star, regular guest star or one-offs. I just, I went for Douglas because Bizarro. But I think if I was to choose a one-off guest star, it would have to be either Ron Ely or I don't know. I don't even know who the other one would be. It probably would be Ron Ely. I mean, I do love Jay Underwood, but not necessarily my favorite guest star, even though it makes me smile every time.
You know what? Michael Debar was really good as
Who did
Adam
he play?
Varel.
Who did he play?
Adam Varel in Change of Heart.
No, that was the season 4 opener, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. He was good. He was all right in Lois and Clark as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he played Lenny Stoke, the musician who's using sound to commit crimes.
Yeah. He's got that song, "Can you penetrate my wall of sound?" Awesome. Great idea for a villain. He uses sound waves to stop Superman because he knows Superman's hearing is sensitive.
Yep.
Brilliant. Great concept. Maybe we'll have to use that plot line, and even though the actor's already been in it, we'll have to recast that role. But to hell with it. We'll do
and
it.
Again, you could always put a goatee on him.
Yeah, why not? You know, there's actors in Superboy that like there's one actor who's in A Kind of Princess. He comes back like 4 or 5 times as different characters every time.
Yeah,
in the show. Yeah, great actor. Like I only noticed really because I know him from something else, so I recognized him the first time.
Yep.
But yeah, I think good choices. I think there's been a lot of great comments, and even though obviously this is only going up now, like the last episode of the podcast is going up literally after we will have finished recording this, so there will be more to go through at some point in the future. So having said that, if you want to leave us a comment and tell us your favorite and least favorite and guest star, you know, we'll add it to the list and your comments will be read out in an episode much like this one. You know, if you want to say, leave us a comment and just say, to be honest, all my picks are the ones you've already discussed, fair enough. That, you know, we're not going to ask you just to comment for the sake of commenting. Maybe if you've got one you think, oh, they've overlooked this, I think that would be interesting. So yeah, please leave us a comment. We really do appreciate all the comments we've read out on this episode already. And to end this episode, there is one more comment to read. It's nothing to do with those questions, but it was left 4 days ago. There was a video that I put up about 6 months ago called Why You Should Watch Superboy. I know you're familiar with the video, yes, Chris, but yeah, people really seem to like it. Got quite a few comments. I'm quite proud of it. We probably will do a sequel to that at some point. You know, more reasons why you should watch Superboy.
We didn't get mine.
Yeah. Although I think a lot of our reasons would be
pretty much the same.
Anyway, pretty much. But yeah, somebody left a comment on that, and it's from Junito730. Says, to be sincere, I didn't know about this TV show. I've been a Superman fan since I was a kid in the 80s, but I recently found it on Tubi. I watched all 4 seasons and I loved it. I've already watched it twice. And I did like both actors' performance. Thank you for sharing this information. Greetings from Puerto Rico.
Wow.
So there's another Superboy fan, and they've already watched it twice. Like, you know, that's an awesome comment to read. I've already thanked them on the YouTube comments section, but I wanted to read it out again because I just thought, how awesome is that? That not only is Superboy still gaining new fans, which we knew it was probably doing anyway, because of just purely for the fact that it's on Tubi for free, it was bound to get some more people watching it. But the fact that this guy's already watched it twice, like,
he's still got a long way to go to catch up to us.
Yeah, but he's well on his way. I can't remember. I think the last time I watched the whole show from start to finish more than once, like in a short span of time, was when I first bought my bootleg DVDs back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Purely because I hadn't seen the show in so long, because it just wasn't on TV anymore, and yeah, the quality sucked. But I mean, let's face it, for a long time, I don't have to tell you, like, those bootleg DVDs were basically the only way to watch this show, especially since it was, you know, early days. Like, the internet wasn't really as much as it was. Like you had stuff like Kazaa and Bearshare, like torrenting stuff. It was all starting off, but by and large, the internet was so much slower. You couldn't stream whole episodes of a TV show. So it was buy a bootleg DVD or that's it. You couldn't find a pirate copy to download, certainly.
Yeah. And
that's the last time I watched it back to back all the way through.
I bought a bootleg set from some guy on eBay. And this was back, it was like 2001, 2002 maybe. Yeah, the quality on it was not the greatest. However, and I wish I still had it just because of this. It had both versions of Countdown to Nowhere.
See, my bootleg didn't have both versions, but the version it did have was the alternate, which is why it's on my YouTube channel. Because I was like, people were talking about it. It was like, I think my bootleg that I used to have in the 90s had it. And it made me think, I wonder. And I pulled it out. I started going through, right, that's the one. Let's put it in. Countdown to Nowhere. Holy shit. I was just like, I've had this all this time and I didn't even know, which is hilarious because obviously that's the version of the DVD that I've watched more than even the official ones. Yeah. So I've probably seen that version of the episode probably more at this point than the other version. And completely had no idea. And it was just awesome to see it. And the quality sucks, but it's there. It still exists. It's not, in a Warner Brothers vault just collecting dust and slowly getting destroyed. Yeah, like the rest of the show, unfortunately, is.
And that bootleg DVD set, that was the first time I ever saw The Power of Evil because I missed it when it was originally on.
Oh wow!
And it's not a great episode.
No, it's not.
But it's a good episode. I mean, you got Key Luke in it.
And I'll tell you what as well, like this is a little bit embarrassing in a way. You cannot find it anywhere on the internet now because believe me, I've checked because I don't even have a copy of it. But way back when, I was in high school, I actually made a couple of Superboy fan films where I played the Connor Kent version of Superboy just purely because I had jeans and a Superman t-shirt, so it was easier. Yep. But the first fan film was called Superboy, The Power of Evil. And the second one was called Superboy, The Test of Time. Wow. I just stole titles straight from the show. But the first one was about, I went up against a character we'd invented. I think we called her Satana. And then I found out later there's already a character called Satana.
Yeah, it's a Marvel character.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just thought we didn't have the money to buy an actual costume and make it look like anything from the comics. Like, oh, fuck it. Pull out all the old Halloween stuff, put this stuff on and made my sister dress up. But the second one was a time travel. So, of course, the title made more sense that time. But yeah. I wish they were still on the internet somewhere, even though they are probably the most embarrassing things. If they do still exist, it's the most embarrassing thing I've ever done.
So basically, this would be to you what Leprechaun is to Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, it was not good. I think part of the reason why it sucked is because there was no script, and we just kind of made it up as we went along over the course of about 4 weekends.
Right.
So it was just. What do we need? Oh, it's only about 5 minutes long. Oh, we need to add some scenes. Oh, I had a phone call with Superman. And it was like, I found like this cosplayer on a forum and he had like this really awesome Superman suit that looked just like the one that Alex Ross draws. In fact, it was very Gerard Christopher, actually, looking back, just with a slightly bigger S even still. And I said to him, I'm only a kid, but I'm making a fan film. There's a scene I've just written in where he phones up Superman and asks his advice. Would you stand in front of a camera in your suit? And he did it. And that was awesome. The sequel, somebody who dressed up as Batman actually and was a semi-professional stuntman was going to play Batman, but that one fell apart in production. But if you know, if there's any big time Superboy fans out there that just happen to download it at the time and you do have it, please don't post it publicly, but please do send it to me. It will be posted publicly at some point, maybe, if it ever does turn up. You know, they say that nothing is ever gone from the, like, if something's out on the internet, it's there forever.
Yeah.
But unfortunately not in this case, because I really would like it. I would like to see it again, just for a laugh. You know, it might be even fun to, if it does ever turn up, we can do a commentary on it and I could just laugh at how absolutely awful it is. I'll just be, yeah. It's like, you know what, Invisible People is better than this.
That's saying a lot.
Well, you know, my acting makes Scott Wells look talented. So Scott Wells should have won an Oscar for Lex Luthor compared to my portrayal of Superboy. Let's just say that.
Oh God!
You should have seen these special effects on it as well. Like, there was this whole intro sequence where Superboy was flying through Metropolis, but because it was animated by a friend of mine who was just starting out, he didn't know how to do skyboxes correctly. So the sky was a cube. So as he flies around, every time the camera moves, you just see like an edge and you just see like a corner of the cube with clouds stuck on it. It looked like Metropolis was trapped inside the bottled city, like one of Brainiac's bottled cities.
Oh God!
Because it literally looked, you could see the edge of the sky, and it was bad. It was so bad. Thank God it's not on the internet, to be honest. I don't think I could show my face in the Superboy community again if that thing was still public.
No, Tom, you could actually show your face. It's just, you know, we'd all look at it as exactly what it is. You know, it was a kid, you know, showing his love, and
yeah,
he kind of didn't do it as well as he could have. We'll just leave it at that.
I think if I'd made it a year later, I could have made it really good. But I just made it at the wrong time, if that makes sense. Because a year later, I went to college and I was actually being trained in how to make films. So suddenly I knew how to write a script. I knew how to set up shots. I knew how to do some of the special effects. All that stuff. And yeah, I just wish I'd waited a year. Part of me wishes I had the money just to make a Superboy fan film today. You and me could just write a Superman fan film, hire an actor and just film the thing. But who knows? Maybe in a couple of years we'll do a Kickstarter or something and say we're doing an official Superboy Legacy fan film.
Yeah, in this case, it would be called a Clark Starter.
Clark Starter, absolutely. Yeah, and who knows? I mean, I'm never going to have the money to actually have the actors from the show reprise their roles, but yeah, maybe we can make it as an animated fan film, and maybe there'd be a slight chance we get some of them back if we did it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Stacy probably would jump at the chance to play Lana again.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, the fan film would basically be season 5, so maybe we'll just, at some point, maybe in a couple of years, we'll just turn season 5 either into a comic book or an animated thing.
Yeah,
we already know Michael Manno wants to reprise his role as Leo, so because we've already announced that even like Leo's coming back. Like, I'm not going to tell you how, but he is. Actually, no, we already know how he's coming back because it was at the end of Future Imperfect. Mixie brought him to our universe. And yeah, he's going to be voicing Leo again, which is awesome. But not Sherman Howard just yet. I think that would be fun though.
Yeah.
If we can somehow get in touch with him. But the thing is, he's in so many TV shows and stuff now. He'd probably want more money than I could afford to offer because nobody's getting paid for Superboy Legacy. Let's face it.
Yeah, we're just doing this for fun.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I think if we were to start getting paid for it, I think it would ruin a little bit of the magic at the moment. I think, at the moment we're doing it for the joy and the passion and the love of the show. I don't know. I think the pressure if we were to start a Patreon or something and suddenly the fans were paying us money month to month or whatever to make content, I think the pressure would be, I think the show would suffer.
Yeah, and I think we'd have to worry about a little bit of a litigation from DC if we did that.
Yeah, I mean, well, Patreon, we could totally get away with it for the content we do for YouTube, but the stuff that's on YouTube would have to change. It's like when people do Patreons for like reaction videos and stuff, they'll do the uncut commentary style reaction that we do on YouTube anyway. That's the Patreon exclusive, and then they do an edited down version for YouTube. We don't bother with that because we want our fans to be able to watch the entire thing with us. So we just put the uncut thing straight onto YouTube. If we were to do Patreon, that would have to change, and I think that would be a shame because we're no longer giving the fans that have stuck with us what they're used to getting from us, and I think we would lose a lot of people. So that is why, like, people have asked, why don't you do a Patreon or something? That is why, because we don't, we want to do things right. Maybe in a couple of years when we've got, who knows, maybe we'll bring in some advertisers or something. But either way, if we ever do something to make some money in this, we'll be doing it in a way that doesn't affect any of the content. Like, it might just give us more of a budget for some videos. Maybe, we'll be able to actually, if we want to do a commentary on a movie and neither of us have it on DVD, we'll actually be able to afford to buy the DVD this time. Maybe, I don't know. That's really getting off topic, but yeah. I do get asked about that occasionally, so hopefully that will prevent people asking again, because I don't want the show to suffer. But anyway, thank you to everybody for leaving your comments. I think we've had a lot of fun dissecting your picks. As I say, we are going to be doing a follow-up. These viewer mail sections, I think, are fun. So, you know what? From now on, any comments you leave, if you leave a comment that we think is interesting enough, we're just going to be saving it and just saving it into a folder at some point. And in the future, we will return and go through some more. Because it's fun and it's a nice way to connect with the community a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think that's it anyway. Again, thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to, the whole spiel, like, share, subscribe, ring that bell icon, all that stuff. And yeah, really do leave us a comment, because you see from this video how much we really do appreciate them. So please do. We love reading the comments, and you will be mentioned on the show. We'll be giving you a shout out if you do leave comments, or at least there's a chance you will. So yeah, be sure to tune in again next week or next time. Same super time, same super channel. Sorry, that's your line.
That's okay. You got the chance to say it today.
Do you want to say my up and away?
Up and away, folks.
Take care, everyone. Goodbye.